4 years we've been waiting to get these packages ready. I didn't grow up feeding horses and caring for horses. It's been obviously a learning experience for me. And then we're going to dig the water line from the well to get water down both of these pastures, and then we'll move horses back here. So we're real excited about that. Hope Acres is a nonprofit equine rescue. We started rescue in April of 2010. We are an all volunteer-based organization and rely entirely on community support and grants. Easy. Good girl. Good girl. Horses are very intelligent and they're very in tune to what your thoughts and fears and energy long before you lay a hand on them. To see a horse that's been neglected, it always sets you back a little bit, but it's brief because inside you know that once they arrive at Hope, they're going to start their next chapter of their life. There's no way we can do this alone. We have, in our 15 years, had hundreds of volunteers come through, from folks that help us with feeding to helping make sure everyone gets groomed and flies sprayed, putting on fly boots, putting on blankets in the winter, making sure water troughs are scrubbed. I mean, there are just so many things that go on daily in the care of the horses or for their benefit. So today we're going to meet Cammie. Cammie has got so much personality, but she's also got a very soft spirit. No? You just want petted? She was underweight. She had brain rot. She actually had an infection in one of her hooves. She needed vaccines, needed her hoofs trimmed. But on average, horses like Cammie are with us for close to 2 years in our rehabilitation program. River, come here. It'll put a little lump in your throat. Rehabilitation doesn't happen overnight, and neither does neglect. I hope that one day we don't need these types of services. But until that time, if you've ever thought about wanting to volunteer or wanting to gift your time, whether you have an hour a day, 2 hours a week, there's opportunities out here. You have to see it and feel it and be a part of it to really grasp how moving it is. Just clean her up a little bit. Horses like Cammie, she doesn't look like that frail, broken, scarred body that she came in as. She's completely healthy and her coat is shiny and her eyes are bright and her, just her overall disposition is happy and carefree. But you come out here where you've got this open sky and all the colors in the sky. We're making a difference, one horse at a time. And hopefully there's some connection, there's some sort of peace and harmony that comes with being around these animals. River, you good, babe? So I think I would be lost without them now. And as long as I can be a part of their rebirth, their new chapters, I'll keep on doing this for as long as I can.
They say to catch a criminal, you have to think like a criminal, but you also have to have connections.
The criminals don't have borders. They don't have city lines. So we in law enforcement, we have to think as they think. We've got to follow them wherever they go so we can get them off of our streets so we can keep our community safe.
But after evidence is collected and before arrests are made, there are still victims, emotions, and the nightmare crime scenes.
There is nothing like the sound of a wailing mother who has just lost a child to gun violence.
Etched in their minds and hearts.
Something that when you walk into a community and you see children watching across the crime tape, you hear the wailing family members.
But instead of pushing them away from the grind,
It's something that you'll never, ever, ever forget. And it's something that drives us
to serve and protect, even more so now. From 2019 to 2020, Charleston's homicide numbers doubled. North Charleston's saw a small decrease, though not by much. But these men know there is a face and a name behind each number, and someone who loved them.
And I remembered we had a young man shot in the schoolyard at Burns Elementary on Dorchester Road. So I go there and I told this lady who I have known all my life that her grandchild was slain, and she said to me, not my grandchild. She said, he just left my table. I just served him a meal. When the coroner did the autopsy, exactly the same content, the food that grandmother told me was still warm in his stomach. He got killed less than 3 to 4 minutes when he left his grandmother's house.
It's painful. A lot of them are young people who are just beginning that path in their lives where I think they got the whole world in front of them.
Leaving family members torn apart.
We are actually going to these families' homes who actually suffer, victimization because of shootings. We're in their living rooms. We're praying with them.
And we have an obligation to make sure that nobody forgets, that we continue to honor those lives by making sure that we do better in our communities.
Better by walking the streets, talking with neighbors, and having more eyes watching.
We're going to do the best we can to make sure other grandparents and other mothers and fathers and sisters and brothers don't experience this.
This is a story we've been working on since last Friday, involving the former head of the narcotics team for the Colleton County Sheriff's Office. We learned that Sergeant Will Janicki resigned after the Sheriff's Office says he was having an extramarital affair with a known drug dealer. That alleged drug dealer was Nicole Francis Good, now implicated in a much larger smuggling operation into the county jail. The Sheriff's Office says that drugs, Polaroids, cell phones, and cigarettes were making their way to inmates. The affidavits show that this was a coordinated effort. Take a look at these suspects, each one accused of playing a role in a large drug and contraband ring into the Colleton County Detention Center. The Sheriff's Office says it first caught wind something was going on back on June 12th. That's when this suspect, Kenneth Beach, he came into the detention center with a bottle of shampoo for an inmate. Officers found nearly 50 grams of marijuana concealed in the liquid. Jailhouse calls revealed extensive planning between Beach and another inmate, Andy Murdoch. And according to call data, this was not the first drop. Several drops prior to this one were successful. And then on July 3rd, deputies say Nicole Good, the same woman caught up in that affair with the narcotics sergeant Will Janicki, entered the lobby and headed for the restroom. After she left, officers found contraband stashed in the trash can. At this time, the Sheriff's Office says it's unsure if Janicki had knowledge or any involvement regarding these incidents. We're told its internal findings were forwarded to SLED for further investigation. A day later, another drop at the jail restroom. This time from a male suspect, Freeman White Jr. As detectives are investigating these drops, a package shows up at the jail, a cell phone and a charger that deputies say was sent by Ashlyn Horlbeck, headed to another inmate, Snow Day. Detectives say at this point the evidence was overwhelming. They say all dozen of these suspects participated in multiple contraband drops at the detention center, relaying when and where these drops would happen simply by picking up the phone. As one of the detectives working on this case pointed out to me, a small amount of dope or cigarettes may not have a high street value in the real world, but behind prison walls, contraband turns into gold. Working for you, Ann Emerson, ABC News 4.
It's been exactly 37 years since that fateful night, April 3rd, 1987. Sarah Boyd and her toddler invited by her friend Linda to a gospel concert in Walterboro. Soulful singing on a Friday night in the South. The weather was cool, low 50s with a breeze, but it didn't stop Sarah from throwing on a pretty beige dress printed with flowers. Her niece Tiffany remembers the moment Sarah and Kimberly walked out the door.
My grandmother picked Kim up and gave her a kiss, and she said, "I see you tomorrow, boo. I see you tomorrow, boo."
32-year-old Sarah, an ambitious administrative assistant at the old Norman C. Toole Middle School in North Charleston, the second born of 4 sisters.
She was like the glue to the family.
Her 2.5-year-old daughter was her mini-me, a beautiful pageant girl who always wore a smile. Sarah's sister Kathy tells me Sarah prayed for a child for years. Mom and daughter were attached at the hip.
Beautiful bond. You didn't see one without the other.
The pair hopped in their friend Linda's car, a '77 blue Lincoln, and drove off. Sarah's husband Philip, her high school sweetheart, was expecting the two home late that night, but they never returned. Tiffany remembers the next morning.
What do you mean she didn't come home last night? I saw them yesterday. They were leaving to go to the gospel program.
A frantic search began.
And we had family getting in their personal vehicles and pickup trucks. Their children in the back of it, I remember. They're just searching, just driving up and down dirt roads and different avenues, just searching.
It was if they vanished.
It's just strange that 3 lives disappeared and no one seems to know anything.
No, nothing.
The biggest piece of evidence in the case of the missing 3 was found 2 days after they were last seen, here at Wells Crossroad, the intersection of Highway 15 and 176 in Orangeburg County. Linda's blue Lincoln abandoned on the side of the road. But how did it get here and what was inside? Both questions investigators needed to answer, but they never even had a chance to dust for fingerprints.
That was a big problem for all of us that were working the case.
Dorchester County Sheriff L.C. Knight was with state police back then, one of the original detectives on the case. His father, Carl, was a local sheriff and led the investigation. According to Sheriff Knight, someone called Linda's husband, John, and told him they saw their Lincoln on the side of the road. By the time investigators got there, it had been moved, taken to a car shop because it had broken down. Who moved it? According to Sheriff Knight, Linda's husband, John, and a lieutenant, William Martin, with the Orangeburg County Sheriff's Office. Knight says John and Martin were friends. Did Martin not know the women were missing? Dorchester County detectives eventually went through the car, but too many people had been in it to gather useful evidence. The process of investigations has evolved over the years. What hasn't changed? The golden rule. Don't touch or move anything until a crime scene is processed or evidence is collected. The Orangeburg County lieutenant would have known that. I asked the sheriff if the same situation happened today, would it be considered unusual?
I don't know. I mean, again, I think William didn't think anything was wrong. I got to stand with him, and I might have to eat these words, but right now I feel like William was straightforward. He thought he was helping a friend, not doing anything wrong.
Orangeburg County Sheriff Leroy Ravenel can't speak to his office's protocol back then, but he understands why this seems suspicious.
That won't be okay today, not with our protocol. I mean, a lot has changed since, 37 years ago.
This isn't the last we'll hear about Lieutenant Martin. Orangeburg County isn't the lead agency on the case. It's Dorchester. The reason? The location where the women were last seen by a preacher and his wife who were at the gospel concert.
Told us that they passed them on 15 in Dorchester County coming towards St. George.
The couple couldn't make out who was behind the wheel of the blue Lincoln, but it's the last known sighting of the missing 3. Sheriff Knight said the couple also saw another car traveling slowly behind them.
But he wasn't sure it was following them or whether it was just happened to be a car that was caught up behind them.
Investigators never made contact with the driver traveling behind Linda's Lincoln, but the location where the car was found still has them puzzled. Remember, the women were traveling from Walterboro. Linda had to drop off Sarah and Kimberly near the Ridgeville area before heading home to Harleyville. So how did they end up at Wells Crossroad?
You got to make a hang of a turn to come back to get to Ridgeville. So they were not even thinking about getting to Ridgeville. Whatever happened carried them to Wells, whether it was leaving or somebody had them kidnapped or whatever, it was intentional.
Sheriff Knight looked into the theory that the women just up and left to start a new life. That didn't pan out. Investigators also tracked down the gospel group based out of Raleigh that they went to see at what was then Walterboro High School. They found nothing.
I think all the investigators involved think that something bad's happened to them.
When we return, what was Linda's relationship with her husband?
Her husband, John, had threatened to kill her if she left him.
Plus, what Linda's mother saw the night her daughter vanished, and the reason the truth never made it to police.
D-Day was all as important as December 7th because it was the end of the war.
I honor those who didn't come back, who were wounded, who walked away from it, who were deceased. Those are the guys that are the heroes.
What say you, Richard Ellett Murdoch? Are you guilty or not guilty of the felonies wherein you stand indicted?
Not guilty.
How shall you be tried?
By God and my country.
The exact time when Paul and Maggie Murdoch were murdered.
I'm not here to work with them, okay?
And the whole point is to have this not fall into the wrong hands. This case is unique, it's unprecedented in South Carolina history.